The rain fell in slow, steady sheets across the city, blurring the lights outside the courthouse windows. People hurried to their cars, clutching umbrellas and briefcases. Eager to escape the gloomy afternoon, Isabella Carter stood alone on the courthouse steps with a cardboard box pressed tightly against her chest. Inside were the last pieces of the life she had spent 14 years building, a framed wedding photo she hadn't found the courage to throw away. Two cookbooks filled with handwritten recipes from her grandmother, a faded family apron embroidered with tiny blue flowers, and a coffee mug that read "Home is wherever we eat together." That mug made her smile. Then she remembered she no longer had a home behind her. The courthouse doors swung herfarmehaj Daniel Carter himrisu, smiling as though he had just closed the business deal of a lifetime. Technically, he had. The divorce settlement had awarded him nearly everything. The house, their savings, the luxury SUV, his investment, portfolio, even the family furniture. By the time the lawyers finished negotiating, Isabella walked away with a checking account containing just over $300. Her 15-year-old pickup truck that barely started on cold mornings, and a storage locker filled with kitchen supplies no one else wanted. Daniel glanced toward her. "You'll be okay," he said casually. "You always figure something out." She looked at him, searching for even a tiny trace of regret. There wasn't any. "You already did," she answered quietly. He shrugged. "This is business." Business. That single word erased 14 years of birthdays, anniversaries, sacrifices, and late nights helping him build the construction company that now made him a millionaire. She had answered customer calls while pregnant, balanced invoices after midnight, cooked meals for exhausted employees, skipped vacations because cash flow mattered more. She never asked for recognition. She believed they were building a future together. Instead, she had unknowingly built his. Daniel climbed into a brand new luxury SUV. The vehicle disappeared into traffic without another glance. For several minutes, Isabella simply stood there. The rain soaked through her jacket. No tears came. Some pain was deep for tears. It simply emptied a person. That evening she drove across town to the cheapest motel she could find. The owner, an elderly woman named Mrs. Alvarez, noticed the trembling in Isabella's hands while she counted crumpled bills. "You've had a rough day." Isabella forced a smile. "You could say that." Mrs. Alvarez slid the room key across the counter. "Pay for 3 nights. You can settle the rest later." "I don't know if I'll have," Mrs. Alvarez gently interrupted. "Sometimes people need kindness more than receipts." Those words stayed with Isabella long after she entered room 17. The room smelled faintly of old paint and coffee. It wasn't much, but it was warm, for the first time all day. She allowed herself to cry, not because she had lost a marriage. That grief had begun years earlier. She cried because she had no idea who she was without constantly taking care of someone else. The following morning she opened her banking app. Balance, $307.46. She laughed softly, not because it was funny, because panic had become exhausting. $300. Enough for groceries. Maybe a week's worth of motel rent. Certainly not enough to start over. She grabbed one of her grandmother's cookbooks as she flipped through the stained pages. Little handwritten notes appeared in the margins. "Food feeds the stomach. Love feeds the soul. Never charge more than your conscience can accept." Her grandmother had owned a tiny roadside diner in rural Tennessee. People didn't visit because it was fancy. They visited because every meal tasted like someone cared. Isabella ran her fingers across one recipe. Chicken pot pie, another. Peach cobbler, another. Slow-cooked beef stew. Each recipe carried memories, not measurements. Love. Patience. Generosity. For the first time since leaving the courthouse, an idea quietly appeared. 3 days later, she visited her storage locker. Dust floated through the afternoon sunlight. Old mixers. Pots, cast iron skillets, serving trays, industrial utensils. Everything she had collected over years of cooking church dinners and charity events. She smiled. People saw junk. She saw a possibility. An old neighbor happened to pass by. "You're selling everything?" "No, I'm starting over." He looked around. "Doing what?" She paused. "I honestly don't know yet." A week later, she drove to a local flea market, hoping to sell unused kitchen equipment. Instead, something unexpected caught her eye. Behind a row of rusted lawnmowers sat an abandoned food trailer. Its paint had peeled away. One tire looked completely flat. The serving window barely opened. It looked terrible, perfect, double quotes, how much? She asked the owner. The older man laughed. "That thing, it hasn't moved in 5 years. 500. I only have 300. He studied her. "You planning to flip it?" "No, I'm planning to feed people." He stared for several silent seconds, then smiled. "You remind me of my late wife." He extended his hand. 300. "It's yours." Isabella almost cried. Driving the battered trailer home took nearly 2 hours. Cars honked. People stared. One teenager shouted, "That thing belongs in a museum." She simply waved. They couldn't see what she saw. She wasn't towing broken metal. She was towing hope for the next month. Isabella worked harder than she ever had in her life. She sanded rust until her hands blistered, painted every surface. Herself watched free online repair videos, installed second-hand shelves, repaired plumbing with borrowed tools. She slept only 4 or 5 hours each night. Every dollar mattered. She reused wood, found discounted paint, collected discarded restaurant equipment. Neighbors slowly began noticing. One brought leftover lumber, another donated light fixtures. A retired electrician fixed wiring for free. Mrs. Alvarez cooked dinner whenever Isabella forgot to eat. Kindness spread quietly. No one expected anything in return. One afternoon, while painting the truck's new name across the side, a little girl stopped riding her bicycle. "What are you making?" "A food truck." The little girl tilted her head. "What will it be called?" Isabella smiled, after thinking for several moments. She dipped her brush into bright blue paint. She carefully wrote, "Grandma." "Rose's Kitchen." The little girl grinned. "I'd eat there." Isabella laughed. "I hope so." Opening day arrived. She parked outside a busy office district. The morning air felt crisp. Fresh biscuits baked inside the tiny oven. Soup simmered slowly. Coffee filled the truck with warmth. Everything looked perfect. Everything smelled perfect. Everything was ready, except no. Customers came. 30 minutes passed, then an hour, then another. People walked by. Some looked. None stopped by lunchtime. She'd sold exactly 1 bottle of water. She leaned against the counter. Exhausted. Maybe Daniel had been right. Maybe she wasn't capable of starting over. Maybe dreams really did expire after 40, just before closing time. An elderly man approached the serving window. "What smells so good?" "Chicken pot pie. Homemade." "Every bite." "I'll take one." He finished the meal sitting on a nearby bench. Then he walked back. "You undercharged me." I charged what's... No. You charged what poor people can afford. He handed her another $20 for whoever comes after. Me, she tried refusing. He insisted. Someone once fed me when I had nothing. My turn. The next customer couldn't pay. A construction worker searched every pocket. I'm short $3 before Isabella answered. She remembered the elderly man's gift. She smiled. Today's meal has already been paid for. His eyes widened. Seriously. Seriously. He promised he'd return. She wasn't sure he would, but somehow she believed him. 3 days later he did return, this time with 6 co-workers. By Friday they brought 12 more. By the second week, office workers started lining up. Word spread. Not because her food was the cheapest, not because the truck looked impressive, because people felt welcomed. Everyone heard the same words. Good afternoon. Thank you. Your time. Drive safely. I'm glad you stopped by. Food filled stomachs, kindness-filled memories, across town. Inside Blackwell Global Headquarters. Billionaire entrepreneur Ethan Blackwell finished another board meeting. Executives debated profits, expansion. Acquisitions. Stock prices. Ethan listened quietly, then asked a question nobody expected. When was the last time any of us actually spoke with customers? Silence. One executive laughed. We hire people for that. Ethan closed his notebook. Exactly. Meeting adjourned. Unlike most billionaires featured in magazines, Ethan often disappeared without security or publicity. He believed businesses were understood from sidewalks, not skyscrapers. He drove ordinary vehicles, wore inexpensive jackets, visited neighborhoods investors ignored. His executives thought it was eccentric. He called it reality. That Friday afternoon, traffic forced him down an unfamiliar street. A long line outside a tiny blue food truck caught his attention. Curious. He parked. The sign read, Grandma Rose's kitchen. People laughed while eating. Office workers chatted with delivery drivers. Construction workers shared tables with lawyers. Nobody seemed rushed. Interesting. Very interesting. He joined the line without introducing himself when his turn arrived. Isabella smiled warmly. What can I get for you today? I've never been here. What should I order? She grinned. What kind of day have you had? He blinked. No one's ever asked me that while ordering lunch. I'll ask again. He thought for a moment. A long one. She nodded knowingly. Then you need the beef stew. Fixes long days. He laughed. I'll trust you. Us. She prepared the meal. Ethan noticed something unusual. She greeted every customer by name, remembered children's favorite desserts, asked about sick parents, congratulated someone on finishing college. She wasn't selling food. She was building community. He carried his tray to a nearby bench. One bite stopped him completely. The stew tasted exactly like the meals his own grandmother had made decades ago. Simple, honest, comforting. No expensive restaurant had ever recreated that feeling. When he returned the bowl, Isabella thanked him as though he had done her a favor. Call me back anytime. I probably will, he admitted. Neither of them realized that brief Conversation had quietly changed. Both of their futures, as Ethan walked away. He looked back once more at the little blue food truck, standing proudly between towering office buildings. Something about it refused to leave his thoughts, and for the first time in months. The billionaire smiled all the way home. End of part 2.